Thank you. There are about a little less than 2 months left before the election, and in many ways, this is the time this book was designed for, because as we enter these last 2 months, this is when the election really gets going. And to me, one of the great untold stories of this is not just Obama versus Romney, it's Obama versus Karl Rove. And he's been behind the scenes the whole time. And he has put together over $1 billion that will be spent in these last 2 months. And it's going to be, we in New York here, you're not going to see much of it. It'll be spent in the battleground states. And he's become king of the super PACs. He has, when you put together his money with the money that Romney has raised and the Republican National Committee, it's a total of about $1.8 billion. To put that in perspective, in '08, McCain had $375 million to spend. So this is a factor of 5, and you're going to start seeing it coming out now. And the other thing as I wanted to discuss about him is that who is he really? What does he do? He's a political operative. Well, how does he operate? What does he really do? And I talked to a couple of sources about that, and one who was one of his victims said, you know, there's a dark and terrible beauty about what he does. And I had another source who was a former CIA agent named Larry Johnson, who told me that, you know, the CIA could learn an awful lot from Karl Rove. And the way he has deniability in all these operations he does. He's both very, very visible. He has something like a 70% name recognition in the United States. That's up there with Justin Bieber. But we don't really know what he does. Most people don't. And when you go back over his history and look at the things that are starting to unfold in the election, he has deniability at one level after another. To me, the story became interesting in a way because I think most people thought Karl Rove was finished in 2008 when the Bush presidency started to come to an end. He had been forced out of the White House in 2007. He was the prime target in the two biggest scandals of the Bush era, the Valerie Plame affair and the United States Attorney scandal. Bush left the White House with a 22% approval rating, the lowest in the history of the United States. And even top Republican strategists like Ed Rollins said that his brand was tainted forever. No one would ever want to be a Bush Republican or work with Karl Rove. And the fact of the matter is he was back working again within a matter of weeks. And it became evident to me in early 2010, about a year after Obama took office. 3 things happened. The first was came from the United States Supreme Court. And I think no person in the United States that I can think of has benefited more from the Supreme Court than Karl Rove. 2 decisions. One, in 2000, obviously, was Bush v. Gore, which put his candidate in the White House. And 2, in 2010, the Citizens United decision. And that opened the floodgates for unlimited contributions, in many cases from secret sources with no transparency whatsoever, that is just unprecedented in history. The second thing that happened was Michael Steele running the Republican Party, and he sort of running into a ditch, and he couldn't raise a dime. And it came to its nadir early in 2010. You may recall there was a revelation in Los Angeles that the Republican National Committee had been entertaining its donors at a lesbian bondage themed strip club. And for the Party of Family Values, this did not work too well. So they could not raise a dime. And this gave Rove his opening. So in April, he had a luncheon at his house. It was in Washington, D.C. on Weaver Terrace. It was co-hosted by Ed Gillespie, a former chair of the RNC. And they had about 24 people over and came away with tens and tens of millions of dollars. And that luncheon alone gave them about 4 times as much money as the entire Republican Party. So Rove was effectively establishing an apparatus that gave him an enormous amount of power and authority with almost no responsibility. He reported to no one, but he had his hands on the purse strings. And this led to the 2010 legislative elections. They raised a total of $300 million and swept Congress. They took 63 seats in the House, and suddenly Obama's big advantage was gone. He had no real authority. This money, so the question is, what did he do with the money? What is he going to do with the money? It's going to go into the battleground states. And I started to look at what he's going to do now. I decided to look what he had done in the past. And I found again and again that a lot of it really had not been reported in depth. For one thing I found that he had was a huge technology apparatus. And I went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I found a company called SmartTech. I saw Rove about a year ago in Ohio, and I asked him about this company. He told me he had never heard of it. Well, I find that hard to believe. This is a company that has a rather Byzantine corporate history, but if you go through all the fronts within fronts and the corporate changes and find out who put up the original money came from 2 very wealthy Republican donors named Mercer Reynolds and Bill DeWitt. And I researched them, and in the 80s, they had bailed out George W. Bush several times. He had 3 oil companies in the 80s that went belly up, and each time they came to his rescue. They were also baseball royalty. Bill DeWitt owns the St. Louis Cardinals, and his father had owned the old St. Louis Browns. And they gave Bush entree into his ownership in the Texas Rangers, which was the only lucrative investment he ever made. I mean, he put in $600,000 and came away with about $15 million. And this company, SmartTech, which started out as quite a legitimate technology company, soon became a Republican operation. And it's all good and well that Republicans or conservative groups should have their websites and so forth. But this was very unusual, and I saw George W. Bush 43.com was there. The Republican National Committee hosted its websites. Later, the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. Hundreds and hundreds of conservative groups were there. Again, that's all fine and well. But this company, which is highly, highly partisan, also over time acquired some contracts that I think probably should not have gone to such a partisan company. And let me just say 2 of those. One was if you're in the White House, your emails, according to the Presidential Records Act, are public documents. And they're supposed to be hosted on whitehouse.gov. But Rove made sure that his emails were hosted on SmartTech, and that 80 of his staffers, other people who worked with him in the White House, also had their emails there. So when Rove was investigated for the Valerie Plame affair, and again in the U.S. Attorney scandal, suddenly 22 million emails were deleted. And these are all government documents, and they have never been found. So that was one thing he seems to have gotten away with. Another thing was in 2004, SmartTech played a central role in the presidential election. And the Secretary of State of each state, part of their job is to oversee a fair and impartial election. And you may recall in the 2000 election, Kathleen Harris in Florida was Secretary of State of Florida, and she also happened to play a central role in the Bush election, and there was considerable controversy over that. Well, a very similar thing happened in Ohio in 2004 where Ken Blackwell was Secretary of State. And again, he was supposed to